Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. My name is Zainab Bukhari. Course title is Comedy of Manners. Program is BS Honors English. Course code is ENGL3124. Today we will discuss about the historical context of importance of being earnest. What is the historical background of importance of being earnest? The importance of being earnest was an artistic breakthrough for Wilde, something between self-parody and a deceptively flippant commentary on the dramatic genre in which Wilde had already had so much success. Wilde's genre of choice was the Victorian melodrama, or sentimental comedy, derived from the French variety of well-made play popularized by Scribe and Sartre. In such plays, fallen women and abandoned children of uncertain parentage figure prominently. Letters cross and recross the stage, and dark secrets from the past rise to threaten the happiness of seemingly respectable, well-meaning characters. In Wilde's hands, the form of Victorian melodrama became something else entirely. Wilde introduced a new character to the genre, the figure of the dandy, a man who pays excessive attention to his appearance. This figure added a moral texture the form had never before possessed. The character of Dandy was heavily autobiographical and often a stand-in for Wilde himself, a witty, overdressed, self-styled philosopher who speaks in epigrams and paradoxes, ridicules the hypocrisy of society's moral arbiters and self-deprecatingly presents himself as trivial, shallow, and ineffectual. In fact, the dandy in these plays always proved to be deeply moral and essential to the happy resolution of the plot. The importance of being earnest was an early experiment in Victorian melodrama, part satire, part comedy of manners, and part intellectual farce. This play seems to have nothing at stake because the world it presents is so bluntly and obstinately artificial. Below the surface of the light, brittle comedy, however, is a serious subtext that takes aim at self-righteous moralism and hypocrisy, the very aspects of Victorian society that would in part brings about Wilde's downfall. So the next thing what is there is the self-righteous moralism. So what is the self-righteous moral? Wilde used his writings to highlight the hypocrisy and vanity of British society in the 1800s by showing caricatures of the upper class and their disregard for right and wrong in favor of keeping up appearances socially. For example, in the play The Importance of Being Earnest, when Algernon says Bunbury died in an explosion, Lady Bracknell immediately thinks poorly of his memory and claims he deserved his death because she believes he was involved in a workers' ruin or some revolutionary outrage from the Whigs, the British Liberal Party of the time. The Victorian era of Britain is considered the height of the Industrial Revolution in Britain and the apex of British Empire. It is often defined as the years from 1837 to 1901 when Victoria of the United Kingdom resigned. The Victorian period is is now often regarded as one of many contradictions. It is easy for many to see a clash between the widespread cultivation of an outward appearance of dignity and restraint and the widespread presence of many arguably deplorable phenomena. These include prostitution, child labor, and having an economy based largely on what many would now see as the exploitation of colonies through imperialism and of the working classes. The expression Victorian value thus may be two-edged. The term Victorian has acquired a range of connotations, including that of particularly strict set of moral standards, often applied hypocritically. Comparing the Victorian age to our own, some have observed that while the Victorians pretend to be much better than they were, we pretend to be a lot worse than we are, others disagree. In Victorian culture, rules of social interaction were remarkably defined. But if anyone was capable of commenting on the absurdity of Victorian high society, it was Oscar Wilde. An outsider due to his Irish birth, he nevertheless worked his way into the London upper-class social circle with his intelligence and charming wit. As an outsider with an insider's perspective, Wilde chose to satirize the society with which he was so familiar. Victorian rules were strictly adhered to because to do so was an indication of class and upbringing. Keeping up appearance was extremely important in Victorian high society. There were so many rules of etiquette that books were published as a sort of cheat sheet for how to behave. Some of the topics mentioned briefly in the play indicate larger political issues that were the subject of heated debate at the time that it was produced. One such subject was the issue of Home Rule for Ireland. William Gladstone created a controversy in 1886 when he committed the British Liberal Party to support Home Rule self-governance for Ireland within the framework of the British Empire. A contentious Home Rule bill was suppressed by the House of Lords only 2 years before the production of The Importance of Being Earnest. As Lady Bracknell examines Jack's suitability as a partner for government, she inquires about his politics. Jack is a liberal unionist, means that he is a liberal who does not support home rule. Lady Bracknell appears relieved, saying, "Oh, they count as Tories, they dine with us." The political distinction matters only in so much as it affects Lady Bracknell's social engagements rather than having to do with the right or wrong of Home Rule for Ireland. The only reason for White's character to get incensed about politics is if politics threaten to disturb their hedonistic lifestyle or the social hierarchy that they have grown comfortable with. The threat of a revolution, like the French Revolution, continuously hangs over British society. Lady Bracknell is exceedingly alarmed to hear that the imaginary Bunbury died by explosion. Exploded? Was he the victim of revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity. Her unease reflects a general feeling of fear regarding social unrest in the 1890s, particularly after a working class not in Trafalgar Square in 1885. The word morbidity does well to describe White's character's attitude towards politics. It is difficult for them to understand an interest in something that is so far removed from the daily players. The importance of being earnest humorously confronts the shallowness and hypocrisy of Victorian society. Lady Bracknell's rejection of Jack as a suitable match for Gwendolen reflects the aristocracy's emphasis on family prestige. Jack is unworthy because he was adopted and no one knows whether or not his biological relatives are respectable. Until the 18th and 19th century, one's family name carried more weight than wealth. With the advent of the free market, however, formerly unimportant families began acquiring wealth surpassing that of noble families. White suggests that society's preoccupation with wealth and family line distracts from more important qualities such as character. The importance of being earnest is first and foremost a farce, a comedy of manners whose main goal is to amuse the audience rather than to make them think. As a comedy, it is rooted much less in a specific history or place than many plays. Nevertheless, the play does contain a few references to contemporary historical events which suggest a troubled society underneath the glossiness of the characters that Wilde portrays. One of the primary critiques of Wilde's play is that it is formed without content and does not deal seriously with any social issues. This, of course, is consistent with the Wilde's doctrine of aestheticism. In a contemporary review, the socialist playwright George Bernard Shaw reacted to the importance of being earnest, seeming heartlessness. He would prefer to think that people are capable of speaking something other than nonsense. However, some of the topics mentioned briefly in the play indicate large political issues that were the subject of heated debate at the time that it was produced. One subject was the issue of Home Rule for Ireland. William Gladstone created a controversy in 1886 when he committed the British Liberal Party to support Home Rule self-governance for Ireland within the framework of a British Empire. The only reason for Wilde's character to get incensed about politics is if politics threaten to disturb their hedonistic lifestyle or the social hierarchy that they have grown comfortable with. The threat of a revolution like the French Revolution continuously hangs over British society. Lady Bracknell is exceedingly alarmed to hear that the imaginary Bunbury died by explosion. Moreover, if we talk about the characters of the importance of being earnest, they have political issues some and how. It is unfair to suggest that the importance of being earnest is a shallow universal force which has no ties to the historical context in which it was created. However, while references to the crucial issues of his time are usually overshadowed by his character's own petty concerns. The importance of being earnest opened in the West End of London in February 1894 during an era when many of the religious, social, political and economic structures were experiencing change. The Victorian age, the last 25 to 30 years of the 1800s, the British Empire was at its height and occupied much of the globe, including Ireland, Wilde's homeland. The English aristocracy was dominant, snobbish and rich, far removed from the British middle class and poor. Many novelists, essayists, poets, philosophers and playwrights of the Victorian age wrote about social problems, particularly concerning the effects of the Industrial Revolution and political and social reform. Dickens concentrated on the poor. Darwin wrote his theory of evolution describing the survival of the fittest, and Thomas Hardy wrote about the naturalist theory of man stuck in the throes of fate. Other notable writers such as Thackeray, the Brontë, Swinburne, Butler, Pinero, and Kipling were also contemporaries of Oscar Wilde. In an age of change, their work as well as Wilde's plays encourage people to think about the artificial barriers that define society and enabled a privileged life for the rich at the expense of working class. American writer Edith Wharton was also writing about the lifestyle of rich during the same period. Her novels such as Athens from the Age of Innocence or The House of Myth explore the concepts of wealth and privilege at the expense of the working class on the American side of the Atlantic. Although the themes in the importance of being earnest address Victorian social issues, the structure of the play was largely influenced by French theatre, melodrama, social drama, and farce. Wilde was quite familiar with these genres and borrowed from them freely. A play by W. Lestock and E. M. Robson, The Founding is thought to be a source of Ernest, and it was playing in London at the time Wilde was writing Ernest. The Foundling has an orphan hero like Jack Worthing in Wilde's play. A farce is humorous play using exaggerated physical action such as slapstick, absurdity, and improbability. It often contains surprises when the unexpected is disclosed. The ending of Ernest, in which Jack misidentities Prism as his unmarried mother, is typical of the endings of farces. Farces were usually done in three acts and often included changes of identity, stock characters, and lovers misunderstanding each other. Wearing mourning clothes or gobbling food down at the times of stress are conventions that can be traced to early farces. Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen also strongly influenced Wilde. Ibsen's innovation in A Doll House, which had played in London in 1889, were known to Wilde. Wilde also attended Hedda Gabler and Gosse, two other plays by Ibsen. While in prison, Wilde requests copies of Ibsen plays. The theatre manager of the St. James, where Ernest opened, George Alexander, asked Wilde to reduce his original four-act play to three acts, like more conventional farces. Wilde accomplished this by omitting the Grippe episode and merging two acts into one. In doing so, he maneuvered his play for greater commercial and literary response. Marriage plots and social comedy were also typical of 1890s literature. Jane Austen and George Eliot were both novelists who used the idea of marriage as the basis for their conflicts. Many of the comedies of the stage were social comedies, plays set in contemporary times discussing current problems. The white Anglo-Saxon male society of the time provided many targets of complacency and aristocratic attitudes that playwrights such as Wilde could attack. Ernest came at a time in Wilde's life when he was feeling the pressure of supporting his family and mother, and precociously balancing homosexual affairs, especially with Lord Alfred Douglas. The importance of being earnest opened at George Alexander St. James Theatre on February 14, 1895. On this particular evening, to honor Wilde's asceticism, the women wore lily corsages and the young man wore lilies of the valley in their lapels. Wilde himself, an outside observer by birth in the world of elegant fashion, was festooned in a glittering outfit. It was widely reported that he wore a coat with a black velvet collar, a white waistcoat, a black moire ribbon with chain with seals, white gloves, a green scarf, ring, and lilies of the valley in his lapel. Wilde, the Irish outsider, was dramatically accepted by upper-class London who loved his wit and daring, even when laughing about themselves. The aristocracy attending Wilde's play knew and understood the private lives of characters like Jack and Algernon. They were aware of the culture and atmosphere of the West End. It had clubs, hotels, cafes, restaurants, casinos, and most of the 50 theatres in London. The West End was also a red light district filled with brothels that could provide any player. It was a virtual garden of delights, and the patrons could understand the need for married men to invent Ernest and Bunbury so that they could frolic in this world. Named after Queen Victoria of England, who reigned from 1837 to 1901, the context in which Oscar Wilde was writing was characterized by Victorian values and society, which saw increased wealth, political stability, and strict cultural norms. The rules of conduct that developed during this time had a strong influence on one's social standing, motivating people to behave in a socially acceptable way in public. Women were seen as weaker but more nurturing than men, and were therefore expected to run the household. Men were seen as stronger and more rational, and they were therefore considered better suited to the world of business and politics. Within each of these realms, a strict set of rules dictated how both sexes were expected to behave in order to be considered moral. Class division was also particularly apparent during this time. With the increase in industry, many middle class families were starting to move into higher society. In order to do so, the need to conform to the expectation of this society became even more pronounced. In sharp contrast, people from the lower classes were viewed as deservingly poor and were treated badly based on the perspective that their poverty was the result of improper conduct. Oscar Wilde and the Victorian era. Although Oscar Wilde was born in Ireland, Oscar Wilde moved to England during his studies and became known there for his extravagance and decadence. Like many others, he noted the differences in the high moral standards that people displayed in social contexts and the less proper behavior that took place when people were outside of the public eye. Perhaps due to the fact that he himself had to put on an act in public, since his sexual orientation was illegal at the time, Wilde came to see social interaction as a farce and wrote several social styles to highlight the strange perspective and behavior of the aristocracy. Style in the novel. Style in the time and context of the novel. The importance of being earnest refers to comedic style in which the behaviors and beliefs of a particular social class are made fun of. In the importance of being earnest, Oscar Wilde pokes fun at the upper class by showing them to be fickle, dishonest, and snobbish. The next point is proper social conduct. In the Victorian era, people were very focused on how one behaved in public. Both Algernon and Jack make up false identities in order to get away with some of their less than ideal behaviors. Calling card and formal invites formed a part of everyday social life in those times, and we find mention of these in the play. Algernon even goes as far as to the state that Jack's carelessness is not sending him a dinner invitation when he wants to avoid dinner at Lady Bracknell's is foolish and annoying. The British at this time considered themselves vastly superior to the French, which is why several novels at the time had villainous French characters. The play pokes fun at the idea of French promiscuity when Jack referred to corrupt French dramas. The next point is marriage and courtship. In the Victorian era, it was very important to marry within your own social class and to hopefully acquire some wealth through this marriage. Lady Bracknell is very dismissive of Algernon's initial statement that he is engaged to Cecil. However, once he learns that Cecily is in possession of a significant inheritance, she changes her tune in a comedic manner. In this way, Wilde shows how worked the upper class priorities were. So the next point we have, that is the pure absurdity. In the importance of being earnest, Oscar Wilde explored ways a statement could be interpreted aside from the obvious intention and uses one of the unintended interpretation and incorrect responses for humorous effect. An example of this comes in the first line when Algernon asks his manservant Lane this question: "Why is it that at bachelor's establishment the servant inevitably drinks a champagne? I ask only for information." Playfully absurd. Oscar Wilde provides the reader with the absurd situation, comical ideas to poke fun at the upper class in Victorian life. Algernon invents the term bunburying, a ruse used by both Jack Worthing and Algernon. The two men have found a way to circumvent the strict responsibilities of Victorian life, in which appearances are everything. Both have a person who constantly needs their help, which enables them to escape and go elsewhere. While creates this escape hatch for both characters to regain some resemblance of privacy and liberty, to be a little bit naughty without anyone really find out. For Jack, it's leaving the countryside to go to London to see his mythical brother Ernest, whom he says is the black sheep of the family and constantly in trouble. Jack goes so he cannot course or hit the bars, and so he can go without worry of tarnishing his own reputation. He can hang it all on his shameful brother Ernest, who does not even exist. Algernon's own case, which gives Bunbury its name, is a fictional friend by the name of Bunbury, who is incessantly stricken by illness, requiring Algernon's devotion and care. By going to his aid, Algernon is the noble and dedicated friend, so admirable when what he wants is to leave the city and get out to the country. Bunbury works well for both of them, but it can't succeed forever. Sometimes the humor rests in the timing of event or circumstances. In a case of dramatic irony, the audience or reader knows that not all the players know. For example, Algernon teases Ernest about the cigarette case from Little Cicely to Uncle Jack. The scene goes on for some time and forces Ernest to admit he is Jack and that Ernest is merely his false identity to escape the countryside for all kerosene in London. With this secret business fresh in the reader's mind, Lady Bracknell sits her Jack down for ghosting, and her first on the list is, "Do you smoke?" His whole ruse of the non-existent Ernest is exposed in that moment, but not for Lady Bracknell. What is the even funnier in this interaction in Lady Bracknell unexpected response when Jack admits that he does smoke. "I'm glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind." Now here there is the play on words of occupation, first thought of as a verb, but here really used as some way of occupying time. So first of all, now we will discuss about the themes of importance of being earnest. The first theme is about the marriage. There is a lot of discussion about marriage in the play. The importance of being earnest is a comic play by Oscar Wilde that engages themes such as marriage, class, social expectations, and the lifestyle of the English upper class. The play focuses on two men, Algernon and Jack, who are both leading double lives. Algernon and Jack are both members of England's upper class and are therefore under social pressure to behave themselves in public. In order to escape this pressure, from time to time, each has created another identity in another community. Things become complicated when both Jack and Algernon fall in love. Jack with Algernon's cousin Gwendolyn, and Algernon with Jack's ward Cicely. Gwendolyn believes Jack is named Ernest, and Cicely believes Algernon is named Ernest. Predictably, delightfully incestuous. Marriage obviously plays a central role in the importance of being earnest, since both Jack and Algernon are trying to marry their respective love interests. Over the course of the three acts, Wilde explores the idea of marriage in three broad ways: how it relates to love, how it is viewed among the upper class, and how people choose their mates. This lesson will take a look at these three themes. As early as Act 1, it is clear that Wilde is suggesting that love and marriage do not necessarily go together. In fact, Algernon argues that, if anything, love and marriage work against one another. This point is first made subtly in a conversation Algernon has with his servant Lane. Algernon asks why servants drink the champagne when they are in the homes of bachelors? Lane answers, I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I have observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand. Algernon notes that this observation does not speak well of marriage. When Jack arrives, Algernon goes further in his critique of marriage. Algernon goes on from there to argue that flirting and courtship is romantic, but marriage is not. This theme continues throughout the play, even as the characters move closer and closer to their own marriages. The point appears to be that romance leads inexorably to marriage, even if all are aware that it might not be sustained there. Since most of the major characters in The Importance of Being Earnest are of the upper class and certainly the two couples are aristocratic, much of the commentary on marriage concerns the elite. We get the idea marriage considerations among this group of people are focused on issues such as family background, wealth, and social standing rather than issues like romantic love. For example, when Jack is asking Gawain's mother, Lady Bracknell, for Gawain's hand in marriage, she asks him a series of questions about his background to determine his suitability for marriage. When Lady Bracknell learns that he does not know the identity of his parents, she is horrified and suggests to him that he must know about his parents. The next point or the next theme is name and identity. Oscar Wilde's play The Importance of Being Earnest explores the connotation with names in a playful manner. In this play, two friends Jack and Algernon become engaged to a woman who believes that both are named Ernest, with false identities and a complex family history leading to comedic conclusion. The theme of name and identities is a dominant one in The Importance of Being Earnest. In fact, the title already alludes to this, which the word play pointing to the fact that it is more important for the two men, Jack and Algernon, to be named Ernest than actually to be Ernest. But why is it that their love interests, Gawain and Cecily, are so insistent on this? Well, as both women exclaim, the idea of being married to someone named Ernest has always appealed to them. They claim that this name inspires absolute confidence because it means showing sincere and intense conviction. Of course, when they inform their respective suitors that they could hardly imagine marrying a man with any other name, a problem arises since neither of them has at this stage been honest about this being his name. When reading the play, one might notice that Algernon refers to a character identified as Jack in the script as Ernest. However, through Algernon's interrogation of Jack about an inscription in Jack's cigar box, Jack reveals that he has made up a false identity named Ernest to lead a kind of double life. While his ward in the country, Cecily, thinks Jack is visiting his brother's Ernest in town, Jack uses the name Ernest in town so that he can behave in a manner unbecoming to a guardian. Algernon is surprised by the revelation and even tells Jack, you look as if your name was Ernest. Jack's love interest, Gawain, who knows him as Ernest, seems to agree when she tells Jack that the name Ernest suits you perfectly. Despite the misgiving of Gawain's mother, Lady Bracknell, Jack is determined to marry Gawain, so he decides to kill off his fictional brother and to be christened with the name Ernest. Meanwhile, Algernon decides to visit Jack's place in the country, assuming the identity of his brother Ernest. His playful roles become problematic when he instantly falls in love with Cecily, who ironically states that if he, Ernest, is not as rich as his brother Jack has claimed, he has certainly been deceiving us all. Under this guise, the two of them become engaged, with Cecily dreams to love someone whose name was Ernest, motivating Algernon's decision also to be christened Ernest. Comedy ensues when the two women, Gawain and Cecily, meet only to discover that they are both engaged to Ernest. In the resultant confusion, the two men reveal their true identities and they have been deceptive in this manner. Gawain's mother disapproved of her engagement to Jack because of his unknown origins. At the time, aristocracy attached great value to one's family history. Discovering that Jack was discovered in a handbag in a clock room when he was a baby, she insists that her daughter will not marry a parson, insisting that Jack must discover who his relatives are before he can marry Gawain. This problem is resolved when Lady Bracknell recognizes Cecily Gawain's mystery
heroism as the maid who lost her sister's baby, because it is revealed that Jack is the child in question. The question of his heritage is resolved. With a bit of research, he then discovered that his first name has in fact been Ernest all along, saying, I mean it naturally, Ernest. While Cicely's adoration of Algernon is based on the identity of fictional Ernest, of whom she has heard about from Jack, Algernon's flattery soon wins her over, and she decides to marry him despite his dishonesty. The next point we have, that is the truth. Truth, which is stating facts, is considered a virtue, but there are times when honesty becomes complicated. Jack and Algernon are cut from the same cloth as far as taking liberties with the truth, but find themselves in a scrap when they suddenly care about the consequences. Sorry. Algernon suspects that Jack might be one. When Algernon learns that Jack goes by one name in the country and another in the city, Algernon says, "What you really are is Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying that you were a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know." Algernon and Jack Bunbury's ways established that although a man are rivals, when Algernon finds out about Cicely, he is curious about whether or not Gwendolen knows about her. Jack responds, "My dear fellow, the truth is not quite the sort of thing one tells to a nice, sweet, refined person." However, Jack is forced to the unthinkable when Gwendolen and Cicely meet. The lies that Jack and Algernon have told lead them to the wrong conclusion that they are both engaged to marry the same man named Ernest. As much as Jack despises the truth, it is something that he expects from the man who married his ward. When Algernon and Cicely become engaged, Jack disapproved of the union based on Algernon's character. Jack says, "I suspect him of being untruthful." Jack has a list of lies, but none of them are any worse than those he has committed. He stresses the hypocrisy people have when it comes to judging others. Now the next point we have, that is the love, or Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest is actually the play which separates marriage from love. Although the couple who fall in love do end up getting married, there are several lines throughout the play that mock marriage as being the antithesis of love. For example, Algernon, who is the play's chief critic of the institution of marriage, says to Jack in Act 1, "I really don't see anything romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there is nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why one may be accepted, one usually is, I believe, then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If ever I get married, I shall certainly try to forget that." In the scene, Algernon is mocking Jack for being in love. Later, of course, Algernon in the same boat as Jack and is trying to marry Cicely, the woman he loved. This is an interesting twist. Wilde seems to be suggesting that love begins somewhat with marriage, or at least romantic it does. Yet love leads people to want to marry. Both Gwenny and Cicely tell their prospective fake earners that much of the reason behind their love for the man is their name. In each case, the woman consulted almost immediately after agreeing to marry the man in question. First, it should be clear by now why the play's title, The Importance of Being Earnest. Secondly, in addition to opening up several thematic possibilities for the plot, this obsession with marrying someone named Ernest shed light on how love is portrayed in the play. So while it is important to remember that the play is a comedy, so Wilde might simply be having some fun with these silly reasons for falling in love, on the other hand, there is always some truth behind a good joke, and Wilde might be providing commentary on the superficial reasons that other often compel people to fall in love. If we end the importance of being this lecture. So, in the importance of being earnest, Oscar Wilde uses a number of literary elements such as irony and style to enhance the overall story. Irony is the use of words to communicate a meaning that is opposite of its real meaning. There are many types of irony. The two types of irony used in the importance of being earnest are situational and dramatic irony. Situational irony involves a situation where an outcome is different than what you might expect. For example, Lady Bracknell does not want her daughter, Gwendolyn, to marry Ernest even though he is healthy and has a good reputation. Instead of Lady Bracknell focusing on Ernest's good qualities, she only focuses on a minor issue that Ernest cannot control, his family background. The importance of being earnest is a comedy play, and this play shows the story of Jack Burton, a man who leads a double life to pursue the pleasure he lacks in his own life. The story is filled with satire and irony regarding the lives of people in Victorian society. Thank you.